whatever was calling me at the time, and I had that idea, I went after it. The breakthroughs really came with just immersing yourself in information. Dan Kennedy, Frank Kern, Russell Brunson, and figuring out what is the correct business model for your business. And the only way to get access to Dan Kennedy's entire brain is to read his books.
You guys, obviously, you help DJs throw events, sell events, do all that. Do you help them just book events, or do you help people also sell tickets to events?
Yeah, so we have 3 memberships. One of them helps them organize their music so that they're prepared for events, figuring out what's hot right now, knowing what to play.
And so what advice would you give to that person who's reaching out cold? What do you guys do?
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a way. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the Fight Against Mediocrity podcast, where we have special guest Dominick Pirone. He is incredible, and I'm excited for you guys to learn more about him. Just a few years ago, if you met Dominick, you would have found him in a lady's basement watching cats. And today, they have over 7,500 total members in their memberships, with Crate Hackers having 6,000, where they help DJs crush their events. And he just recently, a few months ago, spoke at Funnel Hacking Live in front of 5,000 people. So welcome, Dominick.
Thanks, Kevin. Glad to be here. Love the just the whole vibe of, the fight against mediocrity. That's the whole struggle, right? That's the whole fight.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It really is. I was telling someone today, like mediocrity for me is stagnation. Like you stop growing, because everyone's at different levels of whatever. And it's not comparing one person to another person, but it's growth. It's constant growth. And what's so cool is I was checking out your LinkedIn before our call, and I know you said you haven't updated in a while. I don't know if you remember what it says, but you put, "We help break the digital chains of mediocre marketing."
Dude, I mean, mediocrity has been something that I've always been fighting against. I feel like I fight against it every single day. It's like when you're a high achiever, we tend to be very hard on ourselves. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely hard on myself. I have very high goals, and it's just one of those things where it's like you have to constantly fight against it, right? Success requires you showing up every single day. And yeah, it's interesting that you bring up my LinkedIn profile, because I used to be, before I got into the membership space inside the DJ niche, I was basically just freelancing, doing digital marketing for a little bit of everybody, right? And that was, I would say, not successful. And one of my big takeaways to overcome mediocrity, and we could dive into this more, is really niching down. I mean, you hear that over and over and over again, and just constantly working on who is that dream customer that I want to help. So yeah, that was probably 5-6 years ago, that LinkedIn messaging where I was just helping everybody with digital marketing, right? I had just taught myself Facebook ads. I had stopped like doing traditional marketing jobs. I've been in marketing my whole life. I've worked at a Scientology center doing like nonprofit type marketing. I've worked for a chiropractor. I've worked at a nutrition center. I've worked at, all these things. And I used to do events, and I was pretty good at it. Like, we did really good numbers, but then I just hit that wall, and I was like, dude, it doesn't matter how hard you work. You're going to be, this is a mediocre, like mediocrity is, you can't work for somebody else and achieve great things necessarily, in my opinion, in the traditional corporate sense. So
yeah, I mean, it changes when it's all on you.
It does big time.
Yeah,
sometimes it gets tougher too. Yeah, absolutely. Because if anybody is listening out there, and you just went on your own and you're struggling, like that was me for years, right? And I didn't give up, right? I got connected to the right people, definitely the ClickFunnels community, everything that comes out of Russell Brunson's mouth. I make sure I listen to it on repeat 7 times, right? Because he really helped me break through, niche down, figure out what kind of business that I do want, right? Because I was not, after doing and struggling with the agency life, I realized that's not for me. It's just not, like, I can't do it. And so the membership model with the recurring revenue, that provided the stability and the space to think. and the space to be creative. And I didn't have to sell every single day, because selling is not necessarily my strong point, right? Marketing is. And so the membership area was just creating memberships really became the thing that I wanted to do. And so I started my first membership.
Let's back up. Wait, I'm going to pause you right there. Let's back up just a second.
Sure,
I want to
direct me, because I'm just all over the place.
No, you're dude, this is, as you're saying this, I'm like writing down, well, I want to ask more about that. I want to ask more about that. So this is going to be a fun episode. So, you guys will do, 7 figures this year in memberships helping DJs, which is so cool. So let me step back. You talked about, man, I did so much for so long that just didn't work. And talk about some of those pivotal moments where I believe that's how it works, right? Most entrepreneurs, they don't just figure it out day one. It like takes time, whether it's a year, whether it's 10 years, however long it takes to finally like figure it out and click. And so for you, as you're in all these marketing jobs and whatever, trying new things, talk about some of those clicked moments and what the key takeaways were and how you got there.
Sure. Well, so good question. I would say, I don't want to go too far back, because we'll be, talking about my life story, and I don't necessarily want to do that, but I would just say, like, whatever was calling me at the time, and I had that idea, I went after it and gave it my best shot, right? So I taught myself Facebook ads. I was working for this chiropractor at the time and nutritionist, and that was cool. But then I was like, maybe there's something to this. And so I went with the agency model. Hey, started signing up chiropractors and dentists for, 25 to 2,500 a month or whatever. And just really just getting that experience, right? You don't know until you try it and you go full bore. But I realized agency life was not for me. And so I just kept.
How long until you realized that?
I would say within 6 months. It was just stressful to me. Yeah, just managing client expectations and different things like that. And so I really just needed to find the business model, right? And so the breakthroughs really came with just immersing yourself in information, right? Dan Kennedy, Frank Kern, Russell Brunson, and figuring out what is the correct business model for your business and for you. You don't have to do agency stuff if you don't want to, right? You could be, this low cost membership model has worked for us, right? And so I just realized, like I loved the recurring aspect of agency life, but I didn't love like sinking all my time into just 10 people, because if you lose one, you're kind of screwed.
And you talked about, you're always feeling like you have to sell.
Yes, that too. Exactly. And just by my nature, I'm just more of a creative type, that creative brain type. I'm not a logistics person. I'm not an operations person. And so I just never could scale the agency thing, nor did I really want to. Like, it seemed like, oh my God, this is going to put me in the grave if I scale this, right? So I'm not saying that agency life is bad. I know some people who have incredible agencies, and I wish I had the brain for that. I really do, because it is such a cool model. There is recurring revenue involved with that, but I just was looking to sell my knowledge in a way. And it's a funny story. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sell. Me and my brother my brother introduced me to DJing about 7 years ago, and became very passionate about it. Super fun, great way to make, a decent amount of money, and you're having fun while doing it. And that was kind of a new novel concept to me. And so we started reading, the 4-Hour Work Week books and selling your information online. And I had already had a background in Facebook ads. So I was kind of like, well, why don't we just try to sell our knowledge on getting a party started and interacting with crowds and all this wedding stuff, right? And so it's funny, because we tried to sell a $297 course. I put together a webinar. I automated it right away. I did everything Russell said. I went to bed this one night after working on it all night. I woke up. We had made our first sale. And this guy, I'll never forget, Mike's Mobile DJ Service. Thank God for this guy. But he bought the course, totally trashed it, said he wanted his money back. And and that's where the pivot came. I was like crushed, right? I was crushed,
Yeah.
in the mud. And then I was like, okay, what the heck are you going to do now? And then I forget where I heard this, but it was something about a membership model, and you should model the pricing of your industry. And so I was like, maybe people don't want a $297 course. Maybe they want a $30 a month, very easy access type of thing. And so I pivoted to that. And I also, the other big thing that I had to do, and this was huge for me, is the art of surveying. Like I just was selling stuff. That was the way I was testing things out, which is a horrible, well, it's not a great way to do things.
A
right?
way, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you need to make a lot of money quickly. So I read the book Ask by Ryan Levesque, and that was a big game changer for me. So if anybody's struggling out there with not quite landing an offer, having trouble getting people on a webinar, on a challenge, whatever, right? Surveys are huge for us, and we still survey every day to this day, constantly just trying to understand the major pain points of our people. And so I pivoted from that stupid course I was trying to sell for $297, which nobody wanted, and I pivoted to what they wanted, which was more gigs, more bookings, and teaching them social media to do that. But yeah, I wouldn't have pivoted into the membership model if I hadn't tried selling the course, right? And yeah. I'm very thankful now for Mike. Thanks for crushing my soul back then. Yeah. So
oh man, that's awesome. I love that story so much because you just got to try something, right? Like you just have to put
you do
everything into something, and then typically that something doesn't work out, but it pivots you to something a little bit better and a little bit better.
Absolutely.
So I have a few follow-up questions on some of that. This is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I just want to point out that you're really good at is you're growth minded. Like you are always learning. You're always trying new things. You've mentioned so many books and people already that you're learning from. And so, I mean, no surprise your success that you're having because you're just such a persistent learner, which is really cool.
Thanks, man. Yes, it's one of my favorite things to do. It almost feels like when you're doing it right, I feel like it's treasure hunting, right? You're treasure hunting for that next nugget that unlocks, level 11 for you, right? And yeah, it's just like the only way to get access to Dan Kennedy's entire brain is to read his books, really, or to listen to his audio lectures. Same thing with Russell, right? He's put some of the best stuff in his books. Another big one for me was, have you ever read The War of Art? Not The Art of War, but The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
I've read the Turning Pro chapter, the Turning Pro book, which is like
yes.
a section of that. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So that was another big one. But yeah, I developed this love of learning a long time ago. And my parents were always like super helpful with, helping me learn things. And a long time ago, I realized I had this big realization that if any area of your life that you're struggling in, this is actually a Scientology principle. Any area of your life that you're struggling in, it's either you don't have enough knowledge, you're not taking enough responsibility for it, or you're not controlling it in a certain way. So all you have to do is increase one of those parts of the triangle, right? Do you need more knowledge on the subject? Do you need to take more responsibility for it? Do you need to like really confront it more, or do this thing that you're not doing to get this to work? And then there's a control piece where, for example, sales involves a lot of good control, like directing the conversation. So that's really anytime I'm having a problem, I just knowledge. And that gives me the ideas of how I can control this situation better, if that makes sense.
No, that does. Have you found that, you mentioned the War of Art, and have you found that, since reading, I guess 2 questions. How did that change your perspective? And then as you learn more, are you more particular with what books you'll read or what
Yeah.
people you'll listen to, and
Yeah,
why?
good question. So the big thing from the War of Art and why I would recommend everybody read it is it kind of simplifies self improvement and self development down to the simple thing of, are you it's all about overcoming self sabotage, which is, that's one of the greatest battles, right? In the fight against mediocrity, at least for me, is just, are you getting in your own way or are you not? And every time you go up against a new task or a workout regimen, or you do anything constructive, the War of Art talks about the resistance is going to present itself. You're not going to feel like doing it. You're not going to feel motivated. You're going to feel maybe a little anxious, a little depressed, a little, you're going to start doubting yourself. This is a good thing, right? I've seen so many people question, hey, should I do this? I don't know. Just thinking about it. They're getting stuck in their resistance, right? And I think, and the book talks about, and this is why I love it, is using the resistance as a tool. The more resistance you feel to something, the more you should probably do it, right? Yeah. And that was just a huge thing for me, especially a few years ago. Because, man, that resistance is strong, right? You start to think like, should I go get a traditional job? Like, maybe entrepreneurship is not cut out for me, right? Maybe I don't know how to run a business. Like, what the hell am I doing? Like, should I just go get some more experience with an agency or something like that? And all these thoughts enter, and nope, that's just resistance. You got to keep going. Right? So that was huge for me. And yeah, as I go, I definitely try to only take information from certain sources, right? Only successful people that are more successful than me, people that are doing things that I want to do, like that, basically.
Yeah.
And then podcasts are huge too. Another great source of like up-to-date, amazing information. So.
Yeah, no, I asked that question because when I first started, I was like, any book is a good book, which to an extent is true. Like, any book is a good book. But as I've grown, I'm like, well, if I'm going to spend my time reading a book, I want to make sure it's the best book or the best of that I can choose from of an array of books. And so,
absolutely,
like the War of Art and stuff like that, really, really good book to change your life. So anyways, I was just curious. I'm
and then just being like, I'm a total Russell Brunson fanatic, right? So being in Inner Circle, he'll start spitting out books, and every book that he mentions, I'll just put on my list, right? My wish list, at least. So when I get to it, and it's one of those gifts, is like, man, we have so many books. It's also kind of a curse, right? Because you have to find the right one. Yeah. But I would say if you're struggling reading, one of the things is you don't have to finish a book that you're not enjoying, right? This is something I learned from, what's his name? Ravikant, Naval Ravikant. He was like, I read pieces of books and I don't feel bad about it. I don't finish every book. You don't have to feel bad about it. You could read 6 books at one time. Totally fine, right? And it kind of made it okay to be in 5, 6 different books if you want to be, right? Yeah. Like every so often I'll just pop open, Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards, or I'll read something from like Building a Story Brand. I mean, I have a ton right here. I've got a ton back there.
Yeah, same.
The other big thing for me that I'll say, Kevin, one of the big things to put me in that reading state is I love going to, down the street, we have a Korean spa. And because we have a big Korean community where I live near Atlanta, Georgia. And I'll bring my books into like the steam sauna, and people look at me really weird. And I'll bring my books into the sauna because you can't bring your phone in there. You can't bring your laptop. You can't bring distractions in there. And so that was a big thing for me because I'm a easily distracted person, as are most entrepreneurs. We've got the attention of squirrels, syndrome. Right?
Yeah.
So I had to put myself in that thinking state, right? And I just love reading in a sauna. I love getting the pages nasty, You know, I love you can kind of see like where you're at in the book pretty easily and how much you've read. And being in that state just kind of unlocks my brain a little bit more. So if anybody's
Dude,
struggling, lock yourself in a sauna
that
and
is so cool. The reason I love that so much, there's a concept I'm working on. I call them external deadlines.
Yep.
Some people call them forcing functions,
Mhm.
but I found that if I'm left to my own willpower, uh, who knows? Like it could work, it could not work. Like
Absolutely.
if I just say, "Hey, I'm gonna go work out in the morning," but I don't set my gym clothes out, I don't know what gym I'm going to, I don't know what I'm working out. I like the chances of
Well, I
me
like
going to
that
the
one.
gym, dude, down the hill.
Down the hill,
Um,
you get I'm gonna try that actually. Because
what?
I struggle with that, right?
No,
I'm
yeah,
like, I
for
go
me
to
to
the
get,
gym like 2 times a week, but I'd really like to go like 3 to 4 times a week. So you're saying you put your clothes out and like
yeah. So like, so here
I
are
like
some of the external deadlines that you can use to go to the gym. So number one, an accountability partner. If someone is going to meet you there, you are not going to let them down. Number two is leaving your phone outside of your bedroom. So you have to actually get up and turn it off. Putting your gym clothes right next to that. Having the gym you're going to go to and everything already planned out, making sure it's if it's close to your house better. And then knowing exactly what workout you're going to do, like how many reps, what sets, what
dude.
exercises, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And that like
Yeah.
increases. But
And
the like,
a personal trainer has also really helped me
yeah.
when I used it in the past. My girlfriend is a personal trainer, so she helps me
Oh,
with
cool.
programs now. But yeah, having that like exact plan of exactly what to do makes it 1,000 times easier,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like removing the confusion of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
like
like
when
that.
you said like on airplanes, before you could get internet on airplanes, I mean, I guess you always have, but before it was fast and free on Delta, like I used to get so much done on airplanes, like locked in. I'd read so much, so much.
Yeah,
And
because
so
you're
it's
like
so
hopped
cool.
up on caffeine and you're like, you're
Yeah,
basically
you can't
no
do anything
distractions.
else. Yeah, you literally cannot do anything else. And so sauna is such a good idea um as well. That's so smart. And yeah, anyways, so I just
Yeah,
love
because it forces
those
you to
things.
leave that the phone outside. You can't really bring your watch in there. Like it's a rule. Do not bring your phone in
Yeah,
the sauna, right? So
it'll break probably.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
also for me, you know, I grew up a computer gamer. So like the game if I don't remove myself, like I will find distractions. I will go watch TV.
Exactly.
I'll do
Yeah.
this, I'll do that. But if I go to the sauna,
Yeah.
one option, read, right? So
That's
that's been
why I
yeah.
sorry, keep going.
Yeah, that no, that's it. That's
I
it.
love that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I love like whenever I want to build a new program or something, I'll usually sell it or a book or whatever. I'll sell it before I do anything because as soon as someone's paid me for it, I'm like, oh crap, I gotta like do this thing. Like I gotta create
Yeah.
it. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, there's an inner circle member named Eric Sorensen, and he wrote a book called Commit First. And
oh,
the whole thing is about, well, he wanted to write a book, right? So he got up in front of a stage or of I don't know, some clients and stuff, right? Hundreds of them. And he said, I am releasing my book in 2 months on this date at this time. He had not written the book. He just committed, right? But he put himself in that state to like, now you got to do it. Now you
yeah.
just told all these people, right? And I like that. I like that.
One of the
It's extreme, but sometimes that's what it takes, right?
one of the craziest stories I've heard along those lines was the guy who wrote Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, whatever you however you say it. He had like a year or something to write it, but he kept putting it off because he loved going out and partying with his friends. Have you heard this story?
No way.
And
Going out and partying with his friends? What?
yeah, and so it just like would put it
Wow.
off, put it off, put it off. And so
Yeah.
it was doing 6 weeks. And so he had his friends take all of his clothes out of his house so he was naked. So he could not leave until he finished the manuscript. So that's how he forced himself, used an external deadline. So
Holy crap.
anyways, moving on. Um
Sure.
I want to get into a bunch of stuff. But I'm
Sure.
curious on events. You guys obviously you help DJs throw events, sell events, do all that. Do you help them just book events or do you help people also sell tickets to events?
Yeah, so we have 3 memberships. One of them helps them organize their music so that they're prepared for events. right? Figuring out what's hot right now, knowing what to play. The second thing is one of our memberships helps them find and just book more weddings for higher prices. And then our third membership kind of helps them with their performance skills, right? The scratching and the wicka wicka and all the different things that you can do. Make your own songs, make your own DJ edits, they're called. So yeah, so sorry, what was the other part of the question?
Oh, I was just gonna ask. So this is kind of a selfish question, but I'm sure it will help a lot of people. So I host an event every year called the Create Your Own Economy Conference. The first year we had about 50 people there. The next year,
Sure.
about 100 people there.
Yeah.
This next year, I'm wanting to do between 150 to 250 people. And everyone tells me, Russell tells me this, Bridger Pennington tells me this, that events are the hardest things to sell. So I was just curious what you've seen be successful to sell tickets to events.
Oh, I see. Unfortunately, not exactly my forte. We don't necessarily, we teach them more of like getting on vendors lists to position yourself so that you're like a, one of the trusted DJs. Yeah. But just a little behind the scenes, we sponsored an event recently in November. And all I can tell you, Kevin, is and I have packed challenges. We've had thousands of people on our challenges. I've had thousands of people on webinars, which is kind of like an event, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah, like I would say the more entertainment and fun aspect that you can kind of bring to it, the more likely people are going to want to come, right? We just had the Aspire event tour come here in Atlanta, and they've got like T-Pain performing and all these different rappers, and I just thought it was an interesting mix of there's A-Rod is speaking, and then there's some other guys, right, that of. Kevin Hart was going, and then T-Pain is performing, and obviously that's like an extreme example because those guys are all B-lister, A-lister types. But yeah, all I can say is we have a thing that we do is, we try to make every webinar or challenge like circus as possible. When we start our challenges or when we start our webinars, we have somebody perform, right? Because they're DJs, right? They're DJs, they are entertainers. And if we're not entertaining, it's not going to attract the right people. Which we've learned after, a lot of testing. So this Thursday night, we're going to do a party just for the hell of it, right? For our members, we're going to give away stuff, and we're going to bring in some of our favorite DJs, community DJs, and so, yeah, I don't know if that helps, but
cool. No, that makes sense. That's awesome. So, all right, continuing on with your story. So you're doing this agency. You realize that's not what you want to do, which I think is really cool. Just because someone says it's a good idea doesn't mean it's a good idea for you. So really figuring out what you like and what you want to do.
Right.
So you're like, okay, I want to go the member. So you realize that, then take us through, how did your brother taught you, how to be a DJ, and then keep walking us through that story.
Sure. So sorry, the dogs are going crazy.
Dude, you're good.
Yeah. So just after I just kind of realized like a long time ago that there's power in recurring revenue. And I kept hearing about the power of recurring revenue. So I knew that there was something there with that. I was reading, I was studying Frank Kern at the time and Russell, and they both talked about it. And so did Dan Kennedy. And I was like, okay, so maybe I should really look into this because I need stability. At the time I was like I had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt at the time because of bad decisions, bad business moves. And I just needed stability, and I wanted to sell information online, but I realized there was also power in building a community. So it wasn't just sell a course, right, with no interaction after that. It was like an ongoing, continuous thing. And I realized memberships were also the best way to continuously come face to face with my dream customers and continuously understand their struggles and continuously be updated on what they want to learn, right? And what they want to learn next. And it just everything kind of clicked. My first membership I grew it to a whopping 30 members. That was amazing for me. At the time, I was making $400 a month extra, in the basement watching that lady's cats. And the other really cool thing about memberships that I realized after the fact is when you have a membership or a group or a show, you can easily invite people into your membership, your group, or your show, right? Because you have this group that people want to talk to. So when I had my 30 members, I was like, okay, let me try this. Let's see if it's true, Russell. And so I invited one of the influencers at the time who was in the DJ space and my now business partner, Joe Bunn. And I cold DM'd him. He instantly messaged me back. He said, yeah, I'd love to talk to your group. Like, what the hell? And so I got him to talk to my group of 30 people. And when he saw that I had created this group, that started a dialogue between him and I, and that became our next big membership, which we grew to 1,500 members. And that one gave birth to the one that's now 6,000 members, which is interesting. So wow. They can all kind of build on themselves too, which I think is fascinating. But just having that solid recurring revenue is just so nice. And it really does open the doors for people who do want to learn. They just can't necessarily always afford a course for $997. And the crazy thing is when people pay $997, they don't generally even study the damn thing, right? So it's kind of this interesting, it's kind of this
pay $10,000 and not study the thing. So
exactly, right, which is insane. So adding that community aspect is, first of all, so easy, especially as the community builds. You can start activating your members within your membership to help you deliver the membership, which is wild. Somebody asked us, how many team members do you have? And we have like about 20 part-timers, and most all of them are straight from the membership, just like the most active members who raise their hand and would say, hey, how can I help? Right. And some of them would help for free the first few months. And then we'd say, okay, we feel bad about this. Let's give you $500 a month. So we have this $500 a month model, just activating our members to help us with tech support, helping us send emails, helping us promote stuff, helping us curate. So yeah.
How do you, two biggest challenges with memberships, I feel like once you have
there's tons of them,
the offer. Yeah. In my mind anyways, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. Once you have the avatar, the offer, and you start selling it, is number one, how do I get more leads to the membership? And then number two, how do I keep these people engaged and paying every month? So walk me through how you solve those two problems.
Sure. So we've always done webinar or challenge to our membership. And at first I thought it was overkill, and it kind of is if you think about it, right? So if you do a webinar and you sell a $297 for the year membership, seems like overkill. However, those annual members that lock in, and anybody that comes to a webinar or a challenge and signs up for your membership, more than likely they're going to stay for a way longer time, right? They're actually sold on the membership.
Yeah.
And we really like those as selling tools because, first of all, the conversion rate was really good. Like we would convert 20% of people or 25% of people instead of just converting 5%, which never really made sense to me. So we would get 500 people on a webinar and make 100 new members. I was happy, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say that is a great way to get those big pops of members and to sell annual members.
And you'd run ads to those webinars and challenges, or Dream 100?
We're very ad heavy, very, very ad heavy. We're doing about $2,000 a day in ads right now.
Wow.
I'll talk a little bit more about the funnel. So we haven't done a membership or a challenge in quite a while. And the reason that is because now the very simple funnel is add straight to a sales page with a 3 to 5 minute video that helps really explain the value of the membership. And all we're trying to do is sell them on that $30 a month membership. 95% of people are going to buy the $30 a month. And then right after that, there's an upsell to get annual for $197. And that one simple funnel has signed up, over 10,000 people.
Wow.
Just through that very simple funnel. So I would say Sorry, I threw a lot out there.
Oh, that's good.
I would say you need to make it very easy for people to join your membership. The higher the price of the membership, the harder it will become to sell. So keep that in mind. So that's why we stuck with the $30 a month. And I think this could work for up to $47 a month and even $97 in certain niches. But just think about that, like in the the simplest acquisition funnel for us now is add straight to a VSL and then just very simple upsells, right? And with that, we can spend $12,000 a week and make back at least $12,000 a week. But we just locked in all these new members. So that is after years and years of knocking my head against a wall, right? The other big thing that we do that has worked really well for big pops of members is teaming up with some sort of influencer. And in the DJ space, we have YouTubers and we have Instagrammers. And so when we do, and the way we do it is we do some sort of like webinar with them. And I'll actually plug into their account, their ad account, and run ads through their Instagram account to promote this thing, because and I tell them straight up, like, we're going to pay you to do these videos for us to promote the webinar. And I'm also going to give you affiliate commissions on top of that. And it's That's aggressive, but it works, right? Like, I want to make this person money. They don't really need to, they don't owe me anything, right? And I want to try to lock in like a relationship with this person so that they continuously promote our membership. So that's been another good model, is to reach out to an influencer, pay them, the $500 or $1,000, whatever their price is for a shout out, test the waters, see how it goes. And then the ones that perform really well, and you'll find, you have 5 affiliates that bring in 90% of the business. We try to make more deep business relationships with those people and really bring them on as curators or part of the membership, or to give them whatever they want, right? Is it money that you want? Is it whatever, right? And we try to work that out with them. In terms of retention, this is something that we are constantly working on. But if you can figure out a software play, first of all, it's going to help in general. Like, if people can have a software or some sort of tool or if you can't quite figure out the software, what is something that people need every single month that you can provide in your membership to want to continue renewing with you, right? So, but before you even get to that, I love doing the webinar and the challenges straight to a membership because that really does help with retention. And then I would say on top of that, just those fun weekly or bi-weekly meetings where everyone can get to know each other, where people are kind of involved, interactive. That really does help to build that community up and give them that community factor. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, that does. And I'm curious, so with these, partnerships that you're making, these affiliates, really,
yes,
are, when you don't know them and they're completely cold, they don't know who you are or whatever, what is that initial, I get this question from my clients a lot, like, okay, Kevin, I understand the Dream 100. I need to reach out to people who are my dream clients, but like, they don't know who I am. How do I reach out to them or whatever? And so what advice would you give to that person who's reaching out cold? What do you guys do?
Yeah, good point. So we run, first of all, we run so much ad traffic that most of the time people have heard of us. So they've seen us. So we're unique in that. But the best advice that I would give to you is to just do research on that influencer or that Dream 100 person, and to just figure out what is it that they're most likely going to want, and how do I get this person's attention, right? I've heard that you could reach out to people who know this person and try to influence them first. I thought that was cool. Justin P from Inner Circle said something like that. If you're trying to land kind of a bigger celeb, like, who is the person that knows that person, that person's following that you could get to? That's kind of cool. obviously the shock and awe packages, sending them packages, trying to get their attention. And then honestly, going to your industry's conventions, events, things like that are really good because you can, like when we go to DJ conferences, one of our number one missions is, we're going to set up a booth or whatever, or we're going to speak on stage. However, one of the best things you can do is start shaking hands, have some drinks with people, right? Get to know them, tell them, and then immediately tell them, hey, what's in it for them, right? Like, hey, we're big fans of yours. And also, here's how easy it is for you to make money with our with our offer. I've noticed because some of these guys are busy people, right? And they want it to be easy for them. So that's why this whole model of I plug into their ad account, I run the ads for them, I spend our own money with the ads, right? Like I make it a total no-brainer for them for this to work for them.
Yeah, dude. That's gold, honestly, because I feel like in-person events industry, like related in-person events, are way underutilized. That's how I met you, right? Is going to something with Russell Brunson,
That's right.
Atlas
The Atlas
Research
Research
Center.
Center. Yeah.
And literally, I mean, that was an expensive
Yes, it was.
play. But part of the reason I did it is because I'm gonna meet people like Dominick, and I want to, meet more people. And so just going versus like sliding into someone's DMs could work. But when I'm talking to you in person, like, hey man, you want to hop on my podcast? Like 10 times easier.
Yes,
if not.
absolutely. But then the other thing, Kevin, just to back up again, is realize that those guys also want to talk to your group, right? So you having the membership or the group, that we've attracted people very easily that way. Hey, we've got 5,000 members, we have 1,000 members, we have 500 members. I mean, it all sounds good. It doesn't really matter where your membership's at. I was able to attract the influencer that changed my life when I had 30 members. So just having a show like a podcast or a membership or something like that, it gives you some leverage to be able to do things like that. So yeah,
dude. Amen.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you guys do a podcast?
We don't. We've thought about it, but there's a lot in the DJ space. We more so do just like bi-weekly things for our members, and then we'll invite guests, like influencers that we're interested in. We'll invite them in to come on our like show for our members.
Yeah.
We do have a YouTube channel though. That's been really good for us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Way cool. So let's see. Continuing on with the story, I want to touch on how you, I don't know. I don't even know what I was gonna say anymore. So
that's okay. I want to ask you about those books behind you. I like that it's color coordinated. That's freaking awesome.
I know, that's my wife had that idea and everyone loves it. It's such a good idea because otherwise it looks super disorganized, but once they're color coded. And then one of my clients was like, dude, you need to put a light back there. I need to get another one. Anyways, we can go on.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
All right. So anyways, I feel like we touched on pretty much everything and we're coming up on the hour. This has been so fun. This flew by. This has been so fun.
It did. It was awesome. Yeah.
So,
hopefully people get some ideas out of this. And yeah, I hope I can inspire some others, especially people that are struggling with that mediocrity, that feeling of mediocrity. Right. And, all I can say is don't give up, because one thing I will say, Kevin, is one of my favorite books, Think and Grow Rich. And I just got really clear on what it was that I wanted and what I wanted to achieve. And for me, that was speaking on the Funnel Hacking Live stage, because that was the stage that inspired me, that changed my life, 5 years ago when I started going. And so every night for the last 2 years, I started visualizing speaking on stage. What's the clicker going to feel like? What's the audience going to look like? How's the smoke going to feel, right, when I come out there? What song am I going to come out to, right? Like, start thinking about all that stuff to get like excited and to get pumped, because you're going to run into challenges. of course. And you just need that thing to constantly be working towards. And, you know, we talk a lot about manifestation and things like that. But for me, every night when I would go to bed, just constantly just thinking about that right before I went to bed, it did something magical, you know, like it really kept my eye on the prize, and I woke up knowing what I was working towards. And for me, that was a big goal that I could kind of think about. Obviously I have many other goals, but that was like the big goal that would like help push the other goals forward. So yeah, for anybody out there that has like too many goals in your mind, really focus on the one that's going to push all of them forward, and fixate on that and obsess over that and figure out how to make that go right. That really helped me out.
That's such good advice. Such good advice.
Thanks.
There's lots of other questions that as you were talking, I looked at my notes and I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to ask this and this. I will ask one other question.
Please do.
Questions. So
yeah,
when you said the book Ask, and you figured out how to survey your clients, what are the best questions that you ask to figure out what they want and how to provide more value?
Yeah. So I always, having a background in advertising and Facebook ads and copywriting and things like that, I ask them exactly what I need to know to write the best ad. So the main things that I'm looking for are what's first of all the big goal that they're seeking in their business or in their life or in their, right? So I always want to know that. I also want to know why. And my surveys, one of the big problems I see with people doing surveys is they are extremely boring. Do not make boring surveys. People will not fill them out. So if you've ever tried to do a survey and nobody filled out your survey, this is why. It was probably too boring. So be very conversational. Like, let these people know. Literally, one of my survey questions. This is going to sound cheesy, but I really want to know, what is your big goal for this year? Why does it excite you? Like, what sets you on fire? The question will say that in that tone, like a conversational tone, almost like a friend. Cool. Yeah, like a friend is asking you. And you'll notice like people will give you these long responses, right? And that's where the juice is. So I want to know goals, and I want to know barriers. I want to know internal barriers to achieving that goal, and I want to know external challenges. So internal struggles, external challenges. So I always have a survey question about that. I'll literally ask them, what do you hate about social media marketing? Feel free to vent here. And I'll tell them, feel free to vent. Vent. Because I want them to just go off in this survey. So, because again, that's where the juice is. That's where
that is so funny.
Yeah. You can get amazing ideas for ads. You can get amazing ideas for challenges. Some of our best ads have come literally from our survey results because we asked them to vent. We asked them in an interesting, unique way. So goals, barriers, challenges, internal struggles, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, those are the big three, I would say. And then anything else that you need to know about them, right? Like, are they a part-timer? Are they a full-timer? Have they been in this for a long time? Do they have people working for them? That was another big realization that I had marketing to DJs, is you have to have different sales messages for different groups. Sometimes we try to create ads and sales messages and webinars for everybody, and that's a huge mistake. For us, we had to really focus on the part-timer and the newly full-time DJ, believe it or not, because those are the guys that are having the most pain when it comes to marketing and sales. And so we just forgot about the other DJs, right? So that was another big thing. And surveying helped me realize that, like, hey, when I click this button and I look at all the survey results for part-time DJs, they have a very specific problem. Full-time DJs, a different problem, but it's different. And then guys who've been in the game a while, they have hiring problems generally. So very specific problems for very specific groups of people. So that also goes into my survey, segmenting people, understanding where they are at in their business, income wise, experience wise. Are they a part-timer or a full-timer?
So smart. So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. And people
What?
can actually go to sexysurveys.com. I actually call my surveys sexy surveys. You got to sex them up a little bit, if I can say that on the show.
Is that your domain? Sexy
Yeah.
survey?
Yeah. I bought sexysurveys.com
Oh, that's
and I
hilarious.
linked it to, yeah. So if you go there, you'll actually see, this is notes that I gave to the Russell Brunson's Inner Circle members.
Oh, cool.
I put together a whole like examples of our surveys and everything. And my whole thing was like, stop doing boring surveys, start doing sexy surveys. And so I would say, like, out of the one big thing that I can give advice wise, that's been our biggest game changer is surveys. And it sounds ridiculous, but it's truly like the window to the soul of your customer, especially your dream customer, who you need to fully understand that person very intimately and know exactly who to write that ad for, and exactly who to write that webinar for, and exactly who to craft that offer for. You hear that many, many times, right? Avatar, which is cool. But I personally think you should use sexy surveys or some sort of survey to really don't try not to guess what that person's thinking or what their struggles are, you know? Just ask them. Just ask them.
Do you use ChatGPT once you know those to craft some stuff as well? Like, hey, here's my avatar, and then ask it questions.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're using that as data. So we have thousands of responses, and then we are uploading it into ChatGPT or what's that other one? Claude.ai. Another good one. Yeah. So I can say, first of all, I can say, ChatGPT, please help me understand the number one pain point of my customer. Here's 500 survey results, right? And it gives you these amazing breakdowns and analyses and all this kind of stuff. And dude, I actually did this with a friend of mine, client of mine, whatever you want to call them. I do, little side things to help friends out. And it's these two beautiful Black women. They're doctors, and they help Black women with dry, brittle hair. And I told them I was helping them with a webinar and some ads and stuff. And I had them relentlessly survey their audience, and dry, brittle hair was the number one by far. So I said, okay, this is going to become the dry, brittle hair workshop. Like, just call it that, because it was clearly that was the biggest problem. Wow. And they had thousands of people sign up for this webinar. And they were deer in the headlights, right? Webinar wasn't finished, offer wasn't ready to go. And this is like a few months ago. Wow. So I'm not saying that that's going to happen in every niche, but we just that power of surveys was cemented in my mind again, because they were kind of all over the place. They can help women with so many different things about their hair, right? And I had to survey for them because I don't understand Black women's hair, right? I'm a white man, right? So I had to survey just to understand the niche to begin with, so we could come up with kind of a marketing strategy. But it was interesting, dude. It was very interesting.
Dude, that's crazy. So like, if someone has customers, but they're kind of scattered everywhere and they're not really sure where they should focus, survey's the best way to go. And then
survey's the best way to go. And whatever that giant problem is, if you can own that problem, like, just jump on it, right? Yeah, you can help them with so many other things, but really, just the more you understand somebody's problems and you communicate that to them. This is just to like simplify advertising and copywriting as it's just the better you understand somebody, the more they are going to assume that you have the solution. Yeah. And with these women, they're two, amazing, successful doctors, right? They're Black themselves. Like, they truly understand Black women. And so like everything is just the perfect fit there. Right.
Yeah.
And so, that was just like an unlock, but I really helped them see, like, you got to continuously survey, because dry, brittle hair is the most painful thing to those ladies that they want to help. It's not the other things. Yeah. It was interesting to me. Just totally disrelated niche. Right.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, last question, or one small question, then the last question. I'm just curious, what's your highest priced membership right now?
$30 a month.
$30 a month. Are you guys going to do any sort of
So
higher
we
tier
actually,
mastermind or something?
one of my partners just came out with $150 a month membership, and that's going pretty well. So it literally just came out this past week. I'm not too involved with that, but it's something that we're going to partner up with him and drive traffic to that.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And that's for the guys who are like real serious in the DJ space. DJ space, DJs tend to be cheaper. I'm not trying to
Yeah,
they're
I
just
know
an
what you're
interesting
saying.
bunch.
I
And
know what you're
so
saying.
our pricing is a bit lower than usual. So I'm not saying that you should do $30 a month. However, if you're going for giant amounts of signups, this is interesting, Kevin. We recently found one of the guys. He just resigned as he was the chief growth officer of this huge DJ software company. And we brought him on as a consultant to help us get we want to get to 20, 30,000 members, right? Yeah. And he told us to lower our price.
Really?
But that's unique to the DJ space, right? So if you're going for massive scale, you want tens of thousands of members, most likely it's going to need to be a price point where it's just a very easy compulsive sign up, right? Just being frank with you.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Where like I just canceled my Uber One subscription, $15 a month, right? And anyway, but I've also seen people kill it, and I've helped another friend of mine with a $97 a month membership, and we did a challenge straight to membership sign up, pushing annual membership, but also using the monthly as kind of a downsell. Hey, if you can't do annual, it's totally fine. Just sign up for $97 a month. And she got 100, 200 people to sign up in one challenge, which was cool. So yeah, I would just, again, try to model what your niche is used to paying for their various tools and services that they're using, right? Like in the funnel space, we're pretty used to paying $97 a month. So I don't think that's a crazy price point.
Yeah.
That's
so cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been a blast.
For sure. It's been awesome.
What does the fight against mediocrity mean to you?
The fight against your own internal resistance. The truth is, I believe that we're all giants and we're all tied down by these little fake shackles and it's all in our mind.
Yes.
And luckily we have all of these amazing gifts to undo those shackles, right? We've got books, right? You're clearly a lover of books. Like that's one of the gifts, right? Smart people wrote down what they knew. Thank God for that, right? We've got, spirituality that helps get rid of those things. But I just think I'm also in a place where I'm still running into resistance, right? I'm still running into this fight against mediocrity because for me, now I want to hit the $10 million a year. And that just seems so far away, right? That it's like, but I know when I hit 10 million, then I'm going to start thinking 100 million. And guess what? The resistance is always going to be there. So wherever you're at in your journey, just realize like it took me five years of doing memberships to get to where we are now. And I've been in marketing almost my whole adult life, right? Not online marketing, but just marketing in general. So just realize like it does take a bit, and the fight against mediocrity, I don't know that it ever goes away. I hate to say that because it's always, as a high achiever, you got your eye on that next mountain. So
amen.
Enjoy the fight,
enjoy the journey.
Yeah. And enjoy getting punched, right? Like it's going to happen. Like you're going to do a webinar and it's going to bomb, and that is totally fine. You got that done, right? Like when I was working with these sisters, our first webinar, total bomb. Like we had a lot of people sign up, but almost nobody came and nobody showed up. Wow. And I was like, I told them, good. They were all discouraged, right? And I said, no, that's good. That's good. You want a webinar to bomb. Like it's going to happen at some point. It's good that we did it now, right? So yeah, just taking all the punches and just realizing that's part of the epic journey.
So much wisdom, dude. I feel like we need to do a round 2 at some point here because this was so fun. I
That
really
would be
appreciate
sick,
it, man.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you.
We'll talk soon.
Sounds good.